Alrighty, it is time to hit social media for our hashtag segment. For that, we'd like to welcome in Megan Brantley, the VP of Research at LikeFolio.com, and we got Jenny Horn back with us as well, talking some streaming, talking some Disney.
We have definitely exhausted the streaming conversation, but it seems like it's never, you can never talk about it too much. So I actually saw a really interesting article this morning from the Wall Street Journal that Disney's banning Netflix ads on all of its TV networks. So kind of a dig at Netflix. And I know Netflix CEO has even expressed concern over Disney Plus and Apple TV coming, I think, November it is.
So there's almost like a little mini trade war within the streaming segment as well.
Netflix better cut their fees.
They are, because they're the most expensive now. Right. So this is kind of an ongoing conversation we've had with you, Megan. So I'm curious to see what your Disney Plus data says.
So we started tracking Disney Plus, especially going into their November 12th launch, and we're seeing a really strong surge in demand for Disney Plus. So people talking about wanting to download, or that they plan to download, they plan to subscribe. They're excited for the service, and that just keeps increasing as we get closer and closer to launch date. And what's interesting is Disney already has a leg up on other competitors like a Netflix, because they have Hulu already under their belt, as well as ESPN Plus. So they're already, content experts, and they already kind of have a feel for this streaming thing. And so the fact that, we're seeing such strong demand for Disney Plus, I think this looks really good for Disney.
Megan, we've seen a really big slide in Disney shares recently ahead of this launch, which is pretty surprising as the momentum builds up and the analysts are all getting behind this stock. But do you look at it as that Disney won't have to spend as much on content because they already have a lot of it, and that is going to make this a streaming service that everybody will most likely have?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. They're already the king of content. They already have so many things. They've got ABC, you've got Fox on top of the Marvel and the other traditional Disney titles that you think of. So with all of this content that's already great content, all they have to do is place it in front of consumers. So they're really pulling all the levers here. I think that's why they get to, in a way, bully up on Netflix, not letting them advertise. They're in the middle of some battles with Amazon as well, I believe. I don't think that the Disney Plus streaming service will be available on Fire TV. They're even threatening to remove some apps from the Amazon Fire platform if there isn't resolution over advertising revenue. So I think the fact that they're able to pull all these levers, and they have a nice bundle setting up, so I don't see the downside for Disney here.
No, they definitely do have the nice bundle setting that's almost a catch-all with the sports, the Disney side, and Hulu. Almost kind of looks like cable TV to me. But the one thing, too, that we can't stress enough is they're still 40% of their revenue from their parks experiences and other products as well here. But that's also the reason they're able to bully up on somebody like Netflix here. This is the definition of negotiating from a position of strength versus a position of weakness, Tom. As you look at Netflix, that's their core business. This is just something that Disney is looking to get involved in because they see an opportunity.
Yeah, and the cash burn that Netflix is having to provide to update their content and compete against all these new entrants in the OTT space, including TD Ameritrade Network. So, I mean, that's, I think, the biggest concern, and that's why you've seen Netflix stock pull back, because competition's coming, and the competition might be better than you.
That's kind of the general theme I saw on social media today, that people are really in favor of Disney Plus and the strides that Apple's making. And it seems like everyone's a little bit worried about Netflix, which I know you said a month ago, so you might have been right for once, Tom. So our first tweet says, Disney, interesting level trading at 128-ish now. Couldn't defend the 130 support, so is it going to fill that gap? So if you actually look at a daily chart, you see this 130 level this tweet is referring to. But I'm curious, because the stock is up about almost 1% today. So it seems like the street is really liking this news that they're going to ban these Netflix ads, kind of a push in the right direction, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if you're not allowing Disney to get on your platform, I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway, because the demand's going to be there for the app, and I think that's a concern if Amazon battles with Disney over putting their their app on their platform. Roku will have it. It's almost like you have to have that best in breed on your platform, or you might be in trouble.
Yeah, Megan, I don't know how much you compare Amazon, but Amazon's also another player that's really negotiating from a position of strength too. So you almost have to put them in their own bucket. It really seems Netflix is the one here that's going to really face some tough choices going forward. But you also had some information on Hulu, which is 1/3 of that bundle that we were talking about from Disney.
Yeah, we're really seeing strength in Hulu. We're seeing them grow their user base. Specifically, a lot of mentions from their live sports. The fact that they have this Disney, they fall underneath the Disney umbrella really helps them with live sports and things of that nature. And in fact, I think that purchase intent is up over 30% year over year. When you look at something like Netflix, I think their growth is only at about 10% year over year. So there's a big gap there whenever you're comparing the two, and that live component is really doing, what's driving this growth for Hulu. And if you look at another competitor to the streaming, the streaming sphere, I guess, is Sling TV. And Sling recently lost access to Fox and a lot of local sports and things like that. So they're really struggling. Sling is owned by Dish, I believe. So there are a lot of potential losers here, just ripple effects, because Disney is able to just kind of impose their power and just drive this ship.
Yeah, Megan, you mentioned the comparison of other streaming services. That's kind of what my next tweet actually says. So our next tweet says, at launch, Disney says its streaming service will have over 500 feature films and more than 7,000 show episodes. Apple service will have 9 shows at launch. Disney Plus is only $2 more per month. So this is actually this is wild to me, because I think I've been subscribing to Netflix since they were sending DVDs, and I'm like very Netflix loyal, I think, and I read this tweet and I'm like, well, shoot, why wouldn't I go to Disney Plus?
No, I think it's a good point. I mean, Apple, the one thing I'm going to say, this is not a recommendation or anything, but it's hard to bet against Apple if you look at history. They do have a strong history of entering spaces when they're an underdog. I don't know how you can be an underdog as one of the biggest companies in the world, but when people count them out and still coming out on top, look at the Apple Watch, look at their AirPods and a lot of their successes they've had recently. But it'll be interesting how that plays out. Megan, I just want to tie this all together as we're coming up here on time. We spent a lot of time talking about Disney and this streaming component. We talk about how it's a newer component of their business, but really this is their growth component. We know how a lot of those parks and the movies divisions perform kind of relatively slow but steady is how this stock's performed. This is really the move, or the new area that they've moved into that's caused a lot of this stock performance to the upside. Everything here looks to be pretty strong in terms of growth too. Do you expect that to continue going forward?
We do. I think this is a nice, long-term Disney play. They're showing a lot of strength. I think that they could be the staple, as people add more and more subscriptions and start having to make decisions. I don't think that Disney is going to be the one that they're dropping. This may be the one that they hold on to, that they keep, and that's really good for Disney. And like you mentioned, it's extreme growth potential for them.
All righty, Megan, great stuff as always. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. We're going to leave it there.
Thanks, you guys too.